Give me your hat.
When major disasters strike across the world, it shocks us all. Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans in the United States, and the whole world watched the crisis unfold. It clearly showed how disasters are both a human and animal tragedy. Once people had been evacuated, there were still tens of thousands of animals left behind, needing care and attention. IFAW and other organisations responded with emergency relief teams to provide that help. They also responded when the giant tsunami wave swept southern Asia. It wiped out many people's lives and left a trail of devastation for the animals too. What we've learned over recent years is when disasters like these happen, animals as well as people need rescue and rehabilitation. Indeed, for the people caught up in these tragedies, rescuing their livestock, pets and wildlife is a vital part of their recovery. Now, more than ever, with the scientists warning us of the increased risk of disasters due to climate change, we need to be ready and able to go to the rescue of those animals. It can be an earthquake or volcanic eruption, a flood, oil spill or fire. When disaster strikes, one thing's for sure, every living creature in its path is at risk. Both humans and animals need someone to come to the rescue. Farmers can't survive without their livestock. Communities that depend on wildlife tourism can be ruined. Diseases such as rabies must be stopped before they spread from animals to people. And people trapped in disasters want their pets rescued. Disasters range from catastrophic events affecting thousands of animals to a crisis that may impact just a few or even a single animal. Now there are growing fears that climate change caused by global warming will increase the number of disasters the world faces and threaten even more animals and wildlife species. Hurricane Katrina ripped through the southern United States and destroyed large parts of the city of New Orleans. Many people died and more than 1 million were evacuated. In the wake of this humanitarian disaster followed one of the largest animal rescue efforts in history. During the evacuation, tens of thousands of owners were forced to abandon their animals, including livestock, horses, dogs, cats and other pets. IFAW and other animal groups sent teams to coordinate the massive operation. Huge rescue shelters were set up for the animals. For more than a month, thousands of vets, animal welfare workers and volunteers cared for the rescued animals around the clock. To make room for those animals still coming in off the flooded streets, thousands of animals were shipped in refrigerated trucks and airplanes to shelters across North America. A major operation was launched to locate owners and reunite them with their pets. Dogs like this one were flown back for happy reunions with their owners. Katrina showed that saving animals from disaster reduces both animal and human suffering and provides survivors with hope. For the families who lost everything, getting their animals back was a critical part of their recovery. When a devastating tsunami wave hit South Asia, it destroyed coastal communities. Alongside the human tragedy was an animal crisis that threatened both animals and the people still alive. Many of the areas hit by the tsunami depended on animal-based agriculture for survival. Livestock needed to be rescued and cared for so that the farmers had a future. The spread of disease was a major risk. Tens of thousands of farm and pet animals were vaccinated against life-threatening diseases like foot and mouth disease and rabies. This care helped avoid further loss of animal and human life. IFAW operated in the worst hit areas in India, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Indonesia. When forest fires swept Borneo, endangered orangutans were at risk. In difficult and dangerous circumstances, the apes had to be brought down from the trees. Sometimes rescuers climbed 100 feet above the ground. The rescued animals were cared for in a rehabilitation centre and then released back into the wild. Releasing animals back into the wild is the ultimate goal of wildlife rehabilitation work. These two rhino calves were rescued from floods in India. In a groundbreaking effort, the pair named Manazi and Roje were rehabilitated by IFAW at its centre in Assam, then returned to the wild in Manas National Park. The rhino calves were fitted with radio collars so they could be monitored after release. It's hoped that this is the first step towards rebuilding the rhino population in Manas, a World Heritage Site that once had 100 rhinos and now has just 3. In Russia, rescuing orphan bear cubs and returning them to the wild is the lifetime work of Valentin Pajitnov. Wealthy hunters pay thousands of pounds to shoot hibernating mother bears, leaving orphan cubs behind with little chance of survival. In the last 20 years, Professor Pajitnov and his family have successfully hand-reared and released more than 120 orphan cubs that were rescued and brought to IFAW's bear sanctuary. Bear cubs usually arrive in January or February. They're bottle-fed 5 times a day with warm milk. The young bears spend most of their time sleeping, but like these cubs, they can be pretty active before feeding. At 7 or 8 months of age, the cubs are released into protected wild areas where the brown bear populations are low. This little chap now has the chance for a new life. One of the worst man-made disasters the world faces is oil spills. The greatest threat is from deliberate dumping, when ships illegally flush out their dirty engine oil at sea. However, the largest oil spill wildlife rescue took place when the ship Treasure sank off South Africa and more than 1,100 tons of heavy oil spilled into the sea. Over 3 months, IFAW's emergency relief team led a response that involved 60 other groups, 15,000 volunteers, and saved more than 19,000 rare African penguins. The Treasure went down in an area that supports more than 73,000 African penguins, 40% of a worldwide population classified as vulnerable to extinction. In just 3 days, teams transformed a huge warehouse into a rehabilitation centre that cared for thousands of oiled birds. The rescued penguins were tube-fed fluids until they could eat fish. Just feeding the penguins was a huge task. They ate a total of more than 361 tons of fish. Vets nursed the animals back to health until they were strong enough to endure the lengthy washing process. The birds recovered their waterproofing in pools prior to being released back into the sea. Nearly 1,000 people volunteered at the centre daily. Together they worked more than 500,000 hours during the rescue. The hard work paid off. A remarkable 9 out of 10 rescued penguins survived. One of the most baffling wildlife disasters occurs when whales and dolphins become stranded on shore or in shallow water. Some marine mammal strandings happen as a result of illness or injury, but the cause of others remains a mystery. Strandings are widespread, but in hotspots like the USA and New Zealand, they occur far more frequently.
Whatever's easier for you to come back.
So this guy's lighter than it.
IFAW works with the Cape Cod Stranding Network to rescue marine mammals such as pilot whales, humpback whales and harbour porpoises. Whales and dolphins also need rescue when they become entangled in fishing nets. Perhaps the grimmest news about disasters is that they may be on the increase, and we are to blame. It's widely accepted by scientists that the world's climate is changing due to global warming, and that could lead to more disasters. In a recent scientific review on climate change, it warned that 40% of animal species are at risk of becoming extinct. Already we're witnessing the disappearance of Arctic sea ice and the melting of some of the world's biggest ice sheets in Antarctica and Greenland. It's estimated that the collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet could raise sea levels by 6 meters in just a few decades. The vanishing ice threatens some seal species which depend on it, and polar bears like this one will be left without the ice floes they need to survive. Greenhouse gases, particularly carbon dioxide, have increased by nearly 1/3 over the last century, mostly due to human activities. But we can change things. Switching to petrol-efficient cars and public transport, better conservation in airline travel and saving electricity will all help. So what does the future hold in store for us? As we've seen, emergency relief teams like IFAWs can do a great job coming to the rescue of animals and people caught in disasters. Now, we all need to do our bit and start helping save our shared world from disaster.